So one thing I'd like to show you a little bit is our ERP system that we use here, Enterprise Resource Planning. It's essentially the software that controls everything in the shop, and it pretty much drives everything we do here, and it organizes everything we do. I'll take you into a very little bit of it right now. There's a lot. It can control things like quotes, estimates, POs, work orders, parts, tools, consumer off-the-shelf items. So that'd be like anything you buy off the shelf. Material inventory, part inventory, inspection, maintenance, calibration, inspection equipment, all of your machine tools, all of your actual equipment that you're using. And I'm sure I'm missing quite a few. And we use it. We've been using this for a couple years now. Not a couple years, maybe a year, a little over a year. And we're still only beginning to scratch the surface as far as what ProShop's capable of. And one of my goals is to maybe each month try to improve our processes and get things into ProShop. We're working on getting our tooling in there now. It should have already been in there, but it's just you run out of time. But it's a very powerful piece of software. It keeps us very organized. Make sure that we're only shipping good parts because we're tracking all of our inspection in here. But for today, I'm going to show you how you take an estimate to a quote, to a part, to a work order, and what exactly that means. And I'll keep it quick. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds here, but I'll just give you a quick idea. You look here, this is an estimate, and this is for our modular stand that we're running now with the stone wash finish. So there are a couple ways to do this. You can build templates that have most of this already built out, or you can start from scratch. So on this one, I think we kind of started from maybe a razor component and then changed it from there. Up here is just your estimate ID. We log this in Airtable. Part number, this is what we gave these stands. 001 means this is the first stand, and -001, this always means stone wash finish. -002 is bead blast, 003 is as machined, and so on. And we try to keep that pretty standard across all of our internal components. You can add a description, things like that. And then you pretty much just start building out your operations. So you can see this is manufacturing planning. This would be like essentially just planning out the operation. And typically I don't really assign any time to that. Programming, if you want to assign time that it takes to program, you would put it in here. You could set it up as a non-recurring time, so only the first time you program this part, it would get factored into the cost, or if you want it to get factored in every time, you put it here. This shop check here, PP check was like the worst name they could have ever called it, but this is the shop PP check. Pre-process, I believe, is what that stands for. And that's just, it's a pre-process checklist, and I can show you that in another video as far as like, okay, you go through the steps. Have I checked the model? Have I programmed this? Or all my tool paths? There's a long checklist. They give you a default one, and I don't use this too much, honestly. So I kind of just leave it blank. There's no time in there. Here's where you get kind of into the meat. Op 50 is where we machine completes. Right, so if I check this out, here's where I can start making my changes. And if you look in here, so I have a setup time of 15 minutes, percent running. So that means if this was 100%, that means the operator's standing in front of that machine the entire time. 15% is probably about accurate for these, 50-minute runtime. And this would be, you got non-recurring material, non-recurring hardware, things like that, inspection time that if you wanted to build in. Being that this is for an internal part, we wanted to just get a rough idea of what this part would cost to manufacture. Then you kind of just go through the steps, right? Sink, rinse, we rinse them after that. Then they go get blasted, then they get rinsed again. Then they go into the tumbler, rinsed, cleaned and passivated, laser engraved, and you add the rubber feet, to it. Final inspection, shipping is kind of where they get packaged, and then invoicing is essentially where you invoice for this. Being that it's an internal part, you don't do any invoicing. Down here is where you do your price breaks. So quantity 25, 50, 100. You put in your rough tooling costs. If you're using part stock, you would put your part stock in. I'll show you where you would put it in. It's not here. This auto calculates it. This is your bill of materials, and I'll show you our bill of materials. And then here's where you kind of start getting into percent markup. And then here's your total BOM and out-of-pocket costs with the markup. How many parts you think you're going to scrap. And then here's some notes that can automatically get built in whenever you do the quote. So if I save my changes, if I were to do, in this one I don't use part stock, we use a BOM item. So if I click here, this is our bill of materials. And you can see at op 50, I have one piece of stainless that gets one piece per part, right? So it's at op 50, it's pulling these out of inventory, and here's my COTS item. If I open that, here's my consumer off-the-shelf item. I have my quote in here, what it is, stainless rolled flat, 1 by 2 by 2.625, who the vendor is. Here's inventory, so it tracks all that automatically. So I typically on parts that are recurring and internal parts, I set them up as COTS items, and then I use a bill of materials. In that bill of materials, you can also see I have, well, this one is nothing, that actually needs deleted. That was accidentally added in. But here at op 350 is where they have their rubber feet added. So then I have another COTS item here, and if we open that up, okay, here's the rubber feet with the link to how to reorder these. Here's the inventory of them, when they've been applied, to what work orders they've been applied. So right now I know that, okay, I still have 136 available in the shop. And there's all kinds of, I mean, you can really get into detail here. And it's something that, we're slowly adding to. So that's the bill of materials and pretty much the estimate. I know it's just a very quick rundown. I don't want to bore people who don't really care. If I want to see the cost breakdown of like what it's going to cost, I can open this cost breakdown. And here's where it really breaks down everything as far as where certain costs are being allocated. So here's my price breaks up here, 25, 50, and 100, with my number of parts I think I'm going to scrap, 1, 2, and 2. And then how it breaks, where all this is, where the total price is coming from, essentially, is all this. So here's your out-of-pocket costs with no BOM items, out-of-pocket costs per part with no BOM items. So you can really dig into this and see where your costs are coming from. And then finally, at the end here, you can see, okay, if I were machining this, and here's a base profit markup, indirect overhead costs. If I were machining this for another company, I could probably charge them these prices and be ahead, making a profit, 20% markup. I had markup on my material. So this is a real good way to figure out where your costs are going. Here's like your percent, here's all your labor up here. So there's your cost breakdown. And then it's as easy as if I were quoting this to somebody else, right? If this wasn't Yates Precision, if this was Joe Schmo's machine shop, all I do is I click the plus sign up here. I can either create a part from this, a quote, or a quote with the NRE and unit costs. A quote with the NRE and unit costs means any of this non-recurring, anything with non-recurring, instead of breaking that into a separate line where the customer would pay for that one time with a separate line, this it breaks it out into the unit cost per part. So I'll click on that, and instantly that takes me to quote page, right? It populates the costs from my cost breakdown page, inputs the quantities. If I want to add any notes here, inputs the customer already. All I would do is I would hit submit new record. Sure you want to submit? Yes. Then your quote is built, right? And it's pretty simple. So then all I would do to send that to the customer, come up here, print page, change it, save it as a PDF. Okay, and I'd save it as a PDF, send that off to the customer. So any of you watching this that are my customers, you've probably seen this very format. So I'll cancel that because I'm not sending that anywhere. Let's go back, and let's go to back to the estimate. That's what another nice thing is. Everything is linked, so I can get from one thing to another. Actually, no. Let's go. Yeah, let's go here. Okay, so I sent the quote, and now customer comes back. Hey, we want to place an order. All it is one click, customer PO, and now I'm right into entering the PO. So okay, let's just say they only ordered. I'll have to submit new record. And let's say, let's check out, they ordered 25. All I do is go here, close those ones out because they didn't order that, save it. I can put the PO number in here, obviously. And then it's just a matter of coming over here and creating the work order. Typically, before you create the work order, you want to create the part, and you can also do that from the estimate. So if I come here, let's go back to the estimate. I go up here, you create a part. And all it does is, so I've already done this, so I click create part, and here's the part now in ProShop. Okay, so you can see it carries through your routing. If you ever want to change any of this at the part level, you can change it here, do whatever you need to do, but it doesn't go back to the estimate. It changes at the part level from here on out. Okay, so you've created a part, good to go. From that PO, you would create a work order, and then a work order is essentially this. So here's a work order that's already created for these modular stands, and here's your work order. Now this is how it gets tracked through the shop. So you can see I've already completed these. I've applied my bill of materials, so I applied 25 pieces of this stainless and 100 feet, already applied, ready to go. Then I come back, and here it's just a matter of going through the operation. So let's say, okay, I know these are ready for the machine. I've done my pre-processing. Actually, let's go here. So I jump into Op 50. Now here's Op 50. So you have your first article. So we haven't entered any inspection data into this part yet because they're new. So here's where you would enter all your inspection data. And as you completed the parts, you'd come in here and, well, this is the first article. So you'd complete your first article inspection. And then what you do after you complete your first article, you check out. You say it's certified to run. I've inspected it. It's good to go. And the first article is complete. Save changes. And now this will say first article complete. And now what you would do is you come to your full in-process check, or IPC. And now here's where you're just entering your in-process dimensions. So if I had a length, a width, a diameter to check, you can enter your inspection frequency here. I got to check every part, every fifth, every 10th, whatever. And you would just, as the parts come off, you track your dimensions, your inspection here. It has the tolerances that you would apply. Actually, if I go to, let's open this in a new tab, and I'll just apply some random dimension. So I come into Op 50, part check info, I check out. And let's say I have a diameter of 0.500. And my inspection equipment, I'll use calipers, and my tolerance is 0.05, and it is an in-process check. And I have, let's say I can just type in a length, and it's 2.0 inches. I use calipers, and we'll say that's 10 thou, and it is an in-process check. If I don't check in-process check, it will only show up on the first article. So I check in-process check. You can say show dimensions on first check only, and then revisions. You can add photos of like how to check that. So if it was a weird one, or had a weird gauge, or is a weird technique, I can take a photo and add it right here. And I can do all this from my phone too. So I could actually take the photo. If you're on your phone and you click on this, it'll actually take you right to your camera, and you can take a photo right there, which is nice. So I'll save changes. Then if I go back to my work order here, and let's go to Op 50. Now if I go to my first article, you can see this has been carried into this work order. So I go here, let's say this was 0.499, it's pretty good, and this was 2.006. Save changes, and now it'll show you, here's your distance from nominal that you are, so I'm 1 thou under here, and I'm 6 thou over here. But it's still in yellow, means I'm getting kind of close to the limit. So that's still good to go. And then I come in, and now I start running parts, right? So I go to first or full IPC, and I check out, and now it's just where are we here? Yeah, so I just start filling out my dimensions here. So if I say part number 2 was 0.498, and I reeled this one into there. Okay. So then you just keep plugging away there, and I can add part. So there's part 1, part 2, here's part 3. Now let's say this one was a little crazy, 494. Now it's going to say the value entered is out of tolerance. Do you want to create a non-conformance report or an NCR? Typically I don't do that because we're small and I don't really need an NCR, and I'm the customer here. So I'll just hit cancel, and then I'll change this to sure. So now this should show up red and be like, well, this part's out of tolerance, and I know that. So long story short, that's where you track all your inspection. If I refresh here, it should update with part 3. Yep, there's part 3, out of tolerance. So here's my work order. And then as you go, you just mark, okay, I would log in here and check out and total complete. Oh, I've done all 25. And there's 25 queued for the next operation. And this is complete, and my breakdown's complete. Everything's done there. So this operation's complete. Now you can see, I go back to my work order. Okay, this is all green, and I know it's moving on to, okay, they need to go to rinse. So this is good. The operator logs in, sees where the work order stands, and is able to jump right in and say, okay, well, now I need to take this work order, and it needs to go to sync rinse. I'm going to stop there for today because, like I said, I can get deep into this, and I'll slowly add to this. I think some people might be interested and see that we are doing more than just running parts all willy-nilly and hoping they turn out. We try to track everything, inspection, everything. But ProShop is a great ERP system, and like I said, I've been super happy with it. I'll show you one more thing here. I'll take you out onto the shop floor, and we can see how this translates out onto the shop floor. Okay, so now let's take a quick look at how these work orders are tracked on the shop floor and how that relates. So what we have out here is that same work order we were just looking at. It's sitting right here. So if you look, here's 25 parts stacked up for the stands that we just ran, and we print this tag. Now right now we print this out of Airtable. I don't think there's anything like this in ProShop. I wish there was. Hopefully they add something. But essentially I include the work order number, who the customer is, in this case it's Shopify, or what the quick name of the product is, and the quantity, and then if there's multiple bins, you can do multiple bins here. And then the other cool thing that we've started doing is I add this QR code, and what I do is if I hold my phone up, click on it, it'll open that work order on my phone. Now you can use your iPad for this as well. So now you can see here's that work order, and then here's where we were just looking at, 25 complete, and I can do everything that I was just doing on my desktop in there. I can now, if I wanted to check it out, and I can make the same. My internet was a little bit faster. I'm connected to our Wi-Fi, I think. There we go. So I can check out and do everything that I can from the desktop right here. So I can enter inspection from right here on my phone or my iPad, as long as you're logged into your ProShop account here, which I am. So it's pretty handy. You don't have to go back to a laptop, back to a desktop, especially if you just want to see, okay, what are these parts? I can quickly scan the QR code, here, and then I'll know exactly what these parts are and where they are in their life cycle, essentially, or where they are in the shop. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that quick little instructional video on how we manage some of the aspects of our shop. Like I said, ProShop has a million and one different features, and we'll start digging into each of those and kind of show you a little bit of each one. We don't want to go too much into detail because it can get a little bit boring and a little bit monotonous, but I think a quick overview is pretty informative and kind of gives you an inside look as far as like how we run our shop. So if you like this video, definitely comment below. Please be sure to subscribe. This wasn't our typical vlog, but we'll continue to do the vlog post, but I want to do a little bit more focused video on something I think is pretty interesting. So again, thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for more videos.